Spending a weekend in Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada, and my hotel is right next to all the major attractions. Like over there, that's the American in the distance. That's the American Falls, and if you walk down there, there's Canadian Falls. And so I've been learning to do some street photography. So my camera was this Nikon D7200 with a Nikon 16 to 80 millimeter f2.8.4 with a stabilization. And this is probably my first serious attempt at this. I spent probably 2 hours yesterday in Cambridge just walking around the mall, the shopping center. And I had been watching a lot of videos about this, and it's really very difficult, to take pictures of people on the street. And of course you don't want to photograph them from the back, right? You want to see their face. And yesterday at home in Cambridge, I wasn't able to take a single photograph. There's people everywhere, right? I went, shopping center was pretty busy, but I couldn't make myself, lift the camera, because you think, oh my God, what are they gonna think, something, But then over here, I knew it. I had this idea that if I come to Niagara Falls, first of all, everybody has a camera here, pretty much. It's all tourists, and people don't pay attention to you because they look at the falls, right? They're here to look at the attractions. And so it didn't prove to be difficult. Basically, about my settings, I tried color, but then I just decided to do it, the old way, and switch to black and white. And I chose, I was shooting, there were lots of flowers here, tulips, and of course they're dark red. And I tried with, on my camera, I can use a digital filter in the monochrome picture control setting. And I took a picture of those flowers with a red filter, and it did not look natural, because the red of course becomes light, light gray, And then I tried yellow filter, because after all I'm here to photograph people, and my manual says that yellow digital filter is actually good for taking photographs of people, because it renders a great skin colors. But why am I talking? This is video, right? We can do, oops, took a picture. Anyway, so yeah, for example here, oh, and by the way, I unlocked autofocus. See, AF activation is off, so now I'm using this button, basically back button focusing. So this focuses, and I'm in continuous focus, AFC. See over here, AFC. So I do this, and camera focuses, and then I push the button, right? So this really helps. And first I was shooting in shutter priority, about 1/250th of a second or 1/300th, and then ISO was auto, and aperture was auto. But then later I was inside a restaurant, and so I switched to manual mode, but with auto ISO. And so I was using f8 or f5.6 and 250 or 300 for the shutter. But just wanted to show you guys something interesting here. So image quality fine. So white balance was auto, yeah, picture control basically. So I changed it. It was sharpening was a 3, clarity was +1. Actually, yeah, I want to change it to auto. Whenever I see A in there, auto, I change it to auto. I think it's pretty intelligent. So contrast was not there. Contrast was 0 by default. So I switched it to auto, and then over here, that's my filters. See, I switched it to Y, yellow. And over here it's black and white. and this worked great. And so one trick I learned is that, for example, here in Niagara Falls, you know, people, I went to the, you know, to the embankment, right, to this big sidewalk over there where people walk, and everybody, of course, is looking at the falls, you know. And I find that when you go on the grass, and the grass is like a hill, and basically you stand above those people, you know, and they're all paying attention to the falls, you know, they take picture of themselves, you know. So I was able to get some, I think, in my opinion, some interesting shots. And then, of course, over here, where they have all these, where that wheel is, there's a street in here, and there's all kinds of you know, artificial monsters in there, all kinds of museums, you know. Over there in the distance, that's a golf course with some dragons and, you know, some frightening creatures. And so on this street, that's Clifton Hill. There's lots of opportunities on Clifton Hill, you know, because I like that this lens, so it's 16 to 80, which is a 35mm equivalent, is 24 to 120. Which turns out is a perfect, you know, focal distance. I wish it was a bit longer, but then probably the quality would not be as good, because this is already like 5 times zoom, right? Yeah. So I'm pretty happy with this, and I would put it at 80mm, 120, and then, you know, I was able to shoot people across the street, and I didn't have a single incident. Like, not one person asked me what I was doing, you know, what the heck are you doing, you know. People just don't pay attention. So I think this is, my fear was lifted today of street photography thanks to, so I think it's a great idea if you're afraid and you want to try it, you want to try street photography, and you're afraid of what people will say, just go to a place with lots of sites, so that people pay attention to the sites, and where there's lots of tourists and everybody has a camera. So that's the easiest way to get started in this. And then, of course, you just go by trial and error. You try different settings, you know. I know some guy, I watched the video online before, on the night before, and the guy was saying that he uses spot metering, and he locks exposure. Like there's an option there when you press the shutter button, it locks exposure. And then he was saying that, you know, that spot metering worked good for him. I don't know, I tried that, I didn't like it. I just switched back to the matrix metering, or it's called evaluative, right, on Canon. So matrix metering, and no like exposure keeps changing. If something changes, like the sky, you know, it keeps changing. I just left everything by default. So like I said, the most I found that this back button focusing really works, because then it's easy to recompose the shot. As soon as you release your finger off the back button, right, the camera stops focusing, and then you can, you know, get creative with the composition and stuff like that. So that's my experience with street photography. So here's some shots. Some are in color, some are in black and white.